Hello there, sweet maverick delegator. Gosh, I'm so happy to see you. You are the unsung, unassuming leader, the cheerleader who wants people just to get on and be their best. You don't like being smothered or micromanaged, so you steer away from doing that to others. Usually, that is super appreciated. You're a quiet cheerleader, probably with deep expertise, the one who thinks people should be allowed to be at their best. It's frustrating that the most capable people aren't always recognized, so they're not always promoted as they should be. Your delegating style means that you are happy to step back and let your employees take charge within reason. You assign them tasks with faith they'll come back with something great. You're unlikely to offer more support and guidance than necessary. You have enough responsibilities of your own without micromanaging your team's every move. Knowing this, you're careful to hire people who deserve your trust and you give them in-depth training. Sweet delegator, you are probably aware of some of your strengths, but also very much completely unaware of some of your greatest abilities. Many workplaces don't celebrate the quiet ones, and that may be how you're known. So your hidden talents, you've got skills that you use unconsciously and quietly, where my delegated clients unlock these and put boundaries in place in order to let them leverage those superpowers, well, the world opens up. Also, it can be frustrating when people don't take responsibility and step up to perform the role that they're in. You, my friend, are a champion of excellence, a deliverer of the goods, and essential to the smooth running of any business. So, wait, all of this sounds pretty freaking incredible, right? You have an excellent reputation. You get things done. The business could not function without you. So, where's the problem? Well, maybe you've already got them covered, or perhaps there's some new things you haven't yet considered. There's definitely a few flags to look out for, some common pitfalls for high-performing delegator types like yourself, like assuming that others can see what you know to be true, or assuming that people recognize your great work, or when using delegator type language with supporters, for instance, they're going to feel completely disengaged. We'll get to that. You'll be able to work out where it applies to you, and I'll show you what you can do about it. Now, I have a glass of water. Apologies for my sore throat today. Okay. I'm also thinking that my sore throat, drinking sips of water as I go, might actually slow down my speaking so you can take it in a little bit more easily. Okay, so right out of the blocks, I want to share this capability engagement matrix with you. Have you noticed that the most competent people are not always promoted, and that the most likable people aren't always taken seriously? We need to make sure that the perceptions of you have both likability and capability firing high for promotability. But the actions that you take need to be tailored to your style and your environment, or they won't work. For example, it's likely that you have excellent, excellent relationship skills along with your technical or functional capabilities. But if that's not known by the right people, then you might not be the first go-to for promotion. This process for you is largely about perceptions, inclusion, and boundaries, not working harder, but increasing visibility. The relevant people, being aware that you have the right capability mix and the right people skills relevant to your next move. But the actions that you take need to be tailored to your style and your environment, or they're not going to work. For instance, if you're hearing advice from a supporter on how to build your network, or advice from a director type on how to get a pay rise, it might just make the hairs on your neck stand up. And you might give it a crack and wonder why you don't get the kind of results they described, because that advice doesn't capitalize on your unique gifts and talents, my friend. So let me say hi. Hey, I'm Kath Nolan. I'm a coach. And in this 3-part micro masterclass, I'm going to show you how to use your natural superpowers to lead more easily with more engagement from all types of people, raising others up to reach the destination faster by helping you to get unbusy or less chaotic with the useless stuff that fills our days. There's more time for what matters most to you, less time thinking about whether the rain's going to set your washing back or what to make for dinner, more focus on the parts of your life that you love. Since you're here, I'm guessing that your work is your ticket to providing for a lot of what you love. And how well you know and leverage your type plays a huge part in how effective you are there. Less busyness, less pulled in different directions, even if some of those directions may be a result from your own perfectionism. So the future you is more effective, more heard, with more job satisfaction, more choices, more of this kind of wealthiness, and more of this kind of wealthiness, with more time for your passions, whether that's a favorite part of your work or health or a hobby or hanging with your flesh and blood. Less spinning your wheels, greater impact from the expertise you already have and the hours that you are already investing. I'm going to show you a map of where we're going. And then, because I think it's important to know where you're taking advice from, I'm going to walk you through my story and I'll get you to make a decision. So, full disclosure here, you're likely to be coming away with new knowledge and learning, not just in anti-busyness, but also in communication and leadership skills that are unique to your type. So step one is today, this is where we're about self-awareness. This is your strengths, your identity. I've got some coach questions and a worksheet for you. Step two is roadblocks. Like, yes, because you, my friend, are excellent at solving problems and bringing people on the journey. But if you don't find a way to clear space and let some things go, you're going to burn out. And frankly, if clearing space was easy, was simple, you would have done it already. So stay tuned for video 2. We will look at the trip ups unique to high performing delegator types like you. And I will share with you an audit tool that's going to help you to identify what's working for you and what's not. It's a pretty comprehensive tool. It's quick to use, but it's comprehensive. And then step 3 is all about the right effort in the right place, because being seen for what's important gets you resourced and supported. I've got about 15 different ways that you can leverage your unique brilliance. We've all known people who were brilliant but didn't get promoted. So in step 3, you'll understand why that is and how you can avoid it. I'm not a fan of people morphing into something that they're not, chameleon-like. I'm not about game playing. I want to help you to work to your strengths, and I'd like for you to be empowered to help others to do the same. On day 3, I'll also share with you the other types and how you can make that information work for you and for your team. It's helpful for working with others, but also for understanding the different parts of yourself. There's you, my deep expertise delegator, the problem-solving director, there's the coach, and the people's champion, the supporter. You, my friend, attract a legion of admirers for the work that you do and the way that you lead. But you can get so caught up in delivering, it can mean that you ignore your blind spots. Allow me to share my story. So one chilly Thursday morning back in June, 7 years ago, I got my reality check, sitting with a psychologist, Mel, for our second visit. I was there for help with my stress levels. The outside world saw me as an educated married woman with 3 gorgeous little kids, tight support networks, and a successful career in HR. I had a solid track record of building team and individuals in their leadership careers, but I'd come to see myself so very differently to that. It got so bad. Some days I literally curled in a ball crying. Overwhelmed with the burden of how I thought I should be doing as a mum, a daughter, a business leader, I was isolated and underperforming. With the chaos of delivering my work in spare moments around 3 kids, plus the usual stuff of life, I'd started to succumb not just to exhaustion, but to comparison at work. Others seemed so incredibly impressive. So burning the candle at both ends and overworked, I still wasn't enough. There was this one tiny moment that seemed to sum it all up. There was a sticker on my kitchen floor from the kids. It wasn't even a whole sticker. The sticker used to be a ballerina, and all that was left, I'd lifted the sticker up, but the tiny little ballerina's hand was stuck to the floor, and I just couldn't find the 5 minutes needed to sit down on the floor with a butter knife and pick that thing up, scrape it off the floor. So for months, I would sweep and mop over this floor, including the sticker. I'd run past it a gazillion times. It was like this tiny mocking sticker, this this little hand, this waving beacon of a reminder of the long to-do list that I wasn't getting to. This feeling of not enoughness, it came from a few places. It was the pressure of parenthood. It was finances, money, my savings had all gone. I was nervous all the time about grocery bills and phone bills and other bills, bigger bills. The mental load of childcare and household chores, ballerina stickers, and household admin, it just meant a logistical impossibility for work. And my work was so closely tied to my identity. And then there was a pressure I didn't talk about, the negative voice that was outside my own head, but inside my home, that picked up on my insecurities and compounded them. It was like death by 1,000 tiny paper cuts. But I'm naturally positive and I'm hardworking. And after all, self-development is my wheelhouse. So when I recognized this internal struggle, it was almost a relief to see the thing that I could fix to solve it. So I applied myself to resilience as diligently as I had done anything else in my life. I took up running, I was meditating, I burned candles, I tried affirmations, even pedicures. I was working my way through Wellness 101, but it wasn't working. I was so stressed. I was exhausted by the stress and exhausted by trying to fix it, desperate to have the life that I'd imagined for myself and my kids and the have-it-all career success, but despairing that my reality was so different, so not happy. If we look at the urgent important matrix, at this point, my two most important jobs were mum and work, but instead I was consumed by obligations, the urgent and non-important, the inescapable feeling of inadequacy. As a mum, I was permanently distracted by the mental load, the long list of things that I needed to work on or to fix. And at work, it just took longer. It was harder. It was like working in a fog. A 10-minute email would take me forever to send because I kept second-guessing myself and I worried that time spent on work was letting my kids down, guilty all the time, and I wasn't doing anything right. So on this Thursday in June, my meeting with Mel, the psych, went like this. Mel, I've done the research and I've tried all the resilience strategies, even the pedicures, but then I'm hit with another wave and I'm straight back to crushed and confused. Mel's next question lifted me out of my fog of obligations and expectations, out of the urgent that I was calling important to what was actually most important. She said, Catherine, if your BFF came to you and told you this story, what would you say to her? That was the moment that I saw. For the first time, I looked at myself with kindness instead of looking at myself as the workhorse who had to fix it all. In that moment, I actually felt incredibly sad and guilty. My parents and my grandparents had raised me to expect so much better for myself than some of what I was tolerating. And I could see that being so far from happy, I was an awful example to my kids of what they deserved for themselves. I was teaching them to expect the same. That was the moment that I'd been looking out for. I realized I'd been looking out for everyone but me. Even my BFF and her hypothetical woes. I had more concern for her pretend calamity than for my own safety. I realized that day that until we prioritize ourselves, we cannot perform. All of our goals are beyond reach. In that moment 7 years ago, my identity was a combination of work and mama. But by putting those first instead of me first, my contribution had become all hours rather than quality, urgent, not important. It was long hours at work with lukewarm return, and home was long hours washing and cleaning and consumed with stress instead of giggles and hugs and those moments that are so filled with joy you need to take a selfie. When I did the unthinkable and put me first, my career exploded and I was able to be present and joyful with those that I loved. I found my work-life bliss mix, where you're working strategically rather than harder at work, being paid well and able to invest your time in your life activities. But we're conditioned, right, to do the right thing, to be helpful, be polite, ignore your gripes and get on with it. Like, girl, you see a problem, you fix it. But if that problem is personal discomfort, just ignore it, get on with it. You know, that be kind to others mantra, that mentality from childhood, it set me on a path that stifled creativity and clear thinking and self-preservation. Why don't we teach our kids to be kind to themselves while we're teaching them to be kind to others? We should, because now as adults, we just don't know how. So at that moment, when Mel's questions opened my eyes, recovery began. I learned that selfishness is a positive and that we can't function without it. That day, I started to embrace it. I'd love to tell you that learning to believe in myself again was quick and easy, or even that all who loved me would embrace my new self-love journey. It so wasn't quick, and there was much painful trial and error. It took time to simplify the formula for finding courage again. Courage is actually easy to find in the big life-threatening moments because I know from experience, adrenaline kicks in. But courage is hardest in the small moments, voicing what you actually want for yourself. And it's an accumulation of these small moments that shape your life. Now, luckily, courage is essential in leadership. So as I coach others through my work, I refined the formula. To be a great leader, you need a solid toolkit of leadership strategies, but you also need the courage to execute, to keep choosing the important over the urgent, to prioritize yourself over the urgent, noisy problem at hand. Have you ever heard that saying, just because you can doesn't mean that you should? It takes focus to not waste time. I was used to delivering. I was able to get stuff done, so I did. But delivering made me blind to what I was tolerating. And being capable also makes us tolerant. Look, I knew about the gender gap. I worked with it, but it was always an issue that affected other people, not me. I even knew about the bias that we all have. That means we see an issue and assume that it's widespread, but that we're the exception. And still, I didn't think it was a problem for me because we are conditioned to just crack on and get it done, right? Back in June, 7 years ago, I longed for holidays and big memories and for joy and laughter to fill my home. So what happened after this decision? Well, since then, the kids and I have traveled Europe together, just the four of us. We went to Santa's village in Lapland, joined mum and dad there and my brother and his family in the Arctic Circle with just 90 minutes of daylight each day while we were there. It was go cold. Our regular Aussie ski suits were no good. So by lamplight and in these multiple layers of thermals and heavy duty snow gear, we drove a dog sled team. I drove a sled team with my kids on the sled. My dad drove a sled team in front of me with my mum on that sled, and my brother drove a sled team behind me with his wife and his kids on that team. Oh my God, it was so much fun. I found new love since then with my Sam, and Sam has 2 adult kids of his own, plus a new son-in-law. So we are a serious tribe. There are endless grins, endless son kids grins and endless selfies. In July, Sam and I went on a super yacht on the French Riviera with friends, building beautiful big memories, everyday joy and laughter. But it's so much more than the holidays. I am 100 times better. I'm a 100 times better mama without stress. Dealing with self-doubt and putting myself first, it improved my reputation and my relationships exponentially. Professionally, I get so much more of the right stuff done. I take smart risks and I deliver faster. In my work, I teach people the skills and the resources to lead, whether they're leading teams or stakeholders. I do this through workshops, through keynote speaking and coaching. I've shared the speaking stage with Olympian Nova Paris, activist and Australian of the Year Grace Tame, with former Foreign Minister and Deputy PM Julie Bishop, journalist Lee Sales, there's Natasha Stott-Despoja, and so many more. I've now written 4 #1 best-selling books in this leadership and professional development space of mine. You can see the businesses that I've partnered with in this space. 4 #1 best-selling books. This last one, the red one there, Courage and Confidence, a few months ago, was with a collaboration with a number of other leaders in Australia. And this one, oh my God, this one was included in the red carpet celebrity goodie bag at the Oscars. So Nicole Kidman has a copy of this book. So does Denzel Washington and Dame Judi Dench and Billie Eilish. I'm now a multi-award-winning coach for my work with women. So professionally, overcoming self-doubt brought ridiculously huge benefit for my one-on-one coaching clients and for my career. Okay, so I mentioned the gender gap issues that I was ignoring as I focused on delivering my best work. You might be wondering how that might impact you. Let me spell it out. Self-doubt and imposter syndrome, they're an unavoidable side effect of our conditioning. And while I am super optimistic and grateful about the change that's happening and excited about the progress that we're making, inequality is still part of the world that we operate in. Like this. So the World Economic Forum produces the Global Gender Gap Report each year. They compare the gender gap across 147 OECD countries. They look at work, health, education, and politics. Now, in 2019, Australia was 35th in the global rankings. I was appalled at that stage. But since then, we've actually gone backwards. We're at 43rd. The latest data, 2022, puts us at 43rd. Despite some of the businesses making ground on wage parity, we're now at 57th among OECD countries on similar pay for similar work, and 90th on health and survival. I'm not going to mention any numbers here on domestic violence or workplace harassment or the even greater confidence hit from the greater disadvantages experienced by First Nations women or culturally and linguistically diverse women or poor women and more. I will simply say this. If it feels like hard work, if work feels like hard work, if courage feels like hard work, it's not your fault. There is more at play here. It's definitely overcomable, but there is more at play here. And if it feels like hard work and you ignore it, my friend, it will catch up to you. You won't deliver to the same level that you expect, and you'll fall behind and you'll feel like a fraud, but it's not your fault. Change is so much faster when we're empowered, each empowered to shift the needle individually. Global change is critical, and change for those who follow you is excellent. But what about your personal life? Don't you deserve better too? This is why I love coaching so much. It's creating change for one individual at a time. People like you, my delegating friend. So back to finding a system that leverages your personality so that you can prioritize yourself. I've seen dramatic change in my life, and my clients have experienced it also. Now, you and I are similar in some ways and unique in others, right? Based on your quiz results. Honey, you're a problem solver too. Maybe we can both get a little blinkered when solving problems. Maybe we take on a little too much, and we might have a common mental load. And there's loads of ways that our situations are different. Like, I still live with complex PTSD, and there's a strong theme of neurodivergence in our home. Those bring challenges, and I'm sure that you've got your own. But when doubt comes, and it doesn't blind me anymore, I know how to meet it with kindness, self-kindness, and I find the lessons and move through it faster and stronger. I'm really grateful for that conversation 7 years ago, to have someone call out where I was really at, despite someone who could see me, despite how complete I looked from the outside, because it started me on a path to so much stronger, so much more capable. So why did I share my story with you? Why this story? When my work is building leadership skills, because my secret mission is creating future rich old ladies, but 95% of women tell me that courage is what's holding them back. So I can show you the leadership tools to leverage your finest abilities, but I know that before you'll truly embrace them and take the rich old lady path, you first have to see what you're conditioned to tolerate and ignore. My friend, you are one bold, selfish decision and a trusted path away from the work-life bliss that you've always wanted. It goes completely against our conditioning, but all of your goals are on the other side of learning to prioritize yourself. The day that I made a decision to be selfish first, to stop fixing things and started to put the right blocks into place, that's when my work-life bliss mix started to fall into place. So let's come back to you, because this is what it's all about. And frankly, I want to encourage you to be selfish too, but you can't do all the things at once. So let's get real. My delegator friend, you're about to self-assess and make a decision. This is the wheel of life. You'll have it in your worksheet download in the email for this lesson. Now, if you can't find the email, that's totally okay. There'll be another download PDF button next to this video. In fact, you haven't got the email yet. So click the download button and you'll get the video through. You'll get the emailed workbook through. Now, this wheel of life, it's one of my favorite coach tools because it bypasses your to-do list, shifting the focus from urgent to important. Your personal balance, your ideal work-life mix, it's completely personal. You know, it's unique to you. Now, think about each segment of this pie and what success in these areas looks like to you. If the names are not meaningful for you, change the names, no problem. Now, I tend toward OCD, so I use labels that are neat and short. Tribe is your family and friends, for example. Maybe for you, that's just family, or maybe you want to separate it into two and rank both separately. All totally okay. This is my tool, but it's the wheel of your life that you're creating here. So I'm assuming that you will press pause to do that, to cover up the wheel. And now that you're back with me, yay. Okay, so now you're going to take each slice of this pie one piece at a time. Think about what your version of success looks like for each of these and then rate them 0 to 10 in terms of your level of satisfaction. How are things going for you in that space? Remember, this is your wheel that you're creating. Okay, so you're likely covering career, your financial position or money, your health and wellness, your tribe or your family and friends, your partner or significant other, your personal growth. Women are usually especially aware of this one, like hyper aware. When I start a coaching program with someone, they'll often tell me, so men will say, I'm here because I've had some feedback. I need to work on this and this. And women will say, okay, I know what my weaknesses are. I've worked on this and this and this. I've closed these gaps and now I need to work on this one here. Fabulous. And then we've got fun. Do you remember that one? Hopefully it's a big feature in your life and your home environment. But if you're leading a team, then this home segment will actually be your work environment, or carve it into two and make it home and work. It's about the culture, the home environment or the work environment. Okay, so as you rate them, tell me, were there any surprises in there for you? Scoop me an email. Any surprises? How do you feel about how you're currently spending your time? And what would a 10 look like? Okay, in your workbook, I've got some more questions for you for two reasons. The first is that I'd like you to be able to get as much out of this masterclass as possible. And I'd like for you to be able to explore the tool fully. Our work here today is about your journey. My job is to help you to make good decisions and to build your courage on the way. And the second reason I'm loading up with some of my favorite tools and insights, sweet Delegator, is because if your work-life bliss mix is a little less than your ideal, you're probably going to look at working with me at some point. So giving you access to a few of the tools inside Impact, my coach program, allows us to start to get a feel for whether we're a good fit together. Okay, so now I'm cutting to the action-taking good stuff, to your decision, my friend. There's 4 questions. The first is, what's your main goal? What's the main goal that you'd like to work on right now? Where's your focus in the pie? You've got a choice. You can either choose something that you'd like to be much better in. So maybe one of the numbers that you aren't happy that it's so low. Or you could tackle one that you're already really great at and leverage the strengths that you have there to see dramatic results, either in that same area or in different areas, if different areas of the pie. So leveraging that same strength in other areas. And if you do that by leveraging your strengths, you're actually going to see really dramatic results. Okay, question 2. I didn't give you question 1. There you go. What's your main goal right now? Question 2. In fact, let me leave you with that one for a second. Question 2. What of your strengths? Which of your strengths are going to be an advantage for you? Whether that's the strengths that you have that I mentioned earlier or other strengths that you have, which of your strengths is going to be an advantage for this goal? Question 3, what one action will you take today to make progress? One action, what one action will you take to make progress today? And question 4, how are you going to celebrate? Not just the end goal. I'm not asking you how you'll celebrate when you get to a 10. I mean, like, how will you celebrate when you take this one action towards your goal? I want to congratulate you, my friend. You truly have some in-demand superpowers, and I'll explain more of those to you over the next few days, but you're making a targeted, fantastic start on leveraging those strengths. Inclusive leadership is a non-negotiable in today's workplace, and these skills you're working on are building inclusive leadership. You are growing your ability to adapt your style to others' needs across your behaviors and your communication, and that's inclusion. If you'd like help with this, reach out, hit reply or message me. This is what I do. So one last thing before I wrap up, I've been asked, what's with the pumpkins and the pineapples you see dotted around the place? I'm so glad you asked. So pumpkins are a sign, a symbol of growth and change, and pineapples a symbol of wealth. And I wish both of those things in abundance for you. So I'll be in your inbox tomorrow with part 2 of this masterclass. Click the button there to make sure that you get access to that. So click the button, let me know where to send it to, and you'll then have access to this masterclass, the part 2. I've got so much more to share with you. We've talked about your strengths today, and you identified where you'd like to see your first improvement in which part of your life. But you're an intelligent human. If it were that simple, you'd already have done it. But life is full. We're all living with a degree of chaos, right? So tomorrow we'll get to your roadblocks. It's going to be a little bit of your personality-based kind of roadblocks. That's the ones that are related to your Delegator Type Leadership style. But mostly this is about clearing the logistical blocks. In super practical terms, tomorrow I'm bringing you another of my coaching tools, and whether we together, we'll clear some of your chaos, making space for what's most important. And then in lesson 3, we're coming back to focus on what you want more of. Remember that urgent, important matrix? My friend, these delegator skills of yours, they're some of the highest in-demand capabilities for leadership right now. So that means it's a fantastic time to be you right now. There is so much that you can leverage. And given that you're in some sort of a leadership role, whether you are a standalone expert or a business owner or a team leader of 2,000 or 3,000, your work is what enables you to have the kind of life that you want outside of work through the energy it gives you and the money that it gives you. So these specific leadership skills that you can leverage to take your communication, your leadership, your personal management, that's like prioritizing, including making time for yourself, taking all of your leadership skills and your reputation to the next level. I'm going to share the specifics of what direct delegator types, my goodness, can focus on for maximum impact in lesson 3. The changes that you make here, the changes that you make right now, these will impact your work-life bliss next. Right now is the time, this next 24 to 48 hours, this is the time for your selfish move. Be sure to prioritize you. See you tomorrow, sweet, steady delegator.